said, brother, this is not a self-belief issue. This is a self-worth issue. You do not believe you are worthy of stepping into the success that you're going to create. You're never going to create the success. You will just continue running from it forever. And I think that's something that just isn't talked about a lot when it comes to business. It's oftentimes it's the tactics and it's the funnels and it's the conversion and it's the right thing to say at the right time. But I love that we're talking about the internal stuff because that is such a big piece.
Are you tired of working more for less profits in your home service business? What if I could show you $100,000 in hidden annual profits in your business in less than 3 minutes? Would you be interested? And not only show you where, but how to create that 100K in 6 months or less without additional advertising or marketing spend guaranteed. Just go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com to see how truly simple it is. That's sharpenthespearcoaching.com. Do it now. And we are back on STS, Sharpen the Spear podcast with, yes, you guessed it, another incredible guest. I got Kevin Palmieri with us, and you're going to love that. This is going to be just high voltage. Okay, it's going to be a high voltage interview. We're going to roll through this thing. You're going to love every second of it. So, Kevin, without any further ado, no one knows Kevin better than Kevin. So, Kevin, give us a backstory because you got a great one. We want to hear it. Then we'll get into the conversation. So let's roll.
First of all, I appreciate you having me, my friend. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. Excited. So I'm Kevin Palmieri. I am the founder and the host of Next Level University. We're a global top 100 podcast with 2,060 episodes as of today, listeners in 175 plus countries, and we do an episode every day. 365 days a year, because if I'm going to tell you you can get better, I better be there to help you get better every single day. Accidental podcaster. Didn't think this is what I was going to be doing. Never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. My story is one of not thinking I was going to be any level of successful ever. Raised by my mom and my grandmother, didn't know my dad, didn't meet my dad until I was 27. Most of my life, I thought I was not smart enough, not good enough, not competent enough. So after high school, I decided I wasn't going to go to college. Just didn't make any sense. I worked a bunch of odd jobs, gas station, cleaning hospital bathrooms and floors, truck driver, forklift operator, tiling, construction, on-call firefighter for a very short amount of time. Eventually, I landed a job that paid me a really good sum of money, way more than I ever thought I was going to make. Still ended up sitting on the edge of a bed suicidal a couple of years later. Found podcasting in the mix, fell in love with it, and said, look, if I could do that for a living, if I could be a full-time podcaster, that would be the freaking dream. 2018, I left my old job and my old life behind, and I've been a full-time podcaster since 2018. But the first few years, I was working way more than full-time, making less than zero. So we didn't just start here. This has been a journey to climb here for sure.
Yeah, and that's always good for people to know because, as we like to say, every overnight success only takes 10 years.
That is accurate. Yeah, that is accurate.
If you're at any level of success today, just turn around and look backwards and do the math. Okay?
Yeah.
It wasn't overnight.
Oh, I don't ever want somebody to see that. That's the thing about the story is it starts somewhere and then it ends somewhere, but the ending of the story is today. That's not where the second half of the story started. So yeah, it's important.
Right. Yeah. It's good, man. Let's kind of get into it because the reason you do a lot more than just podcasting. Okay. Just so people, I'll give the high view. It's like, hey, I just talk all the time and that's all I do. And that's not really what you do, but we're going to get into what it is specifically, but also for people to know, well, why you're a business podcast? Like, why do you have a podcasting guy on? This is weird. And it's not because what I have found, Kevin, and you may have too, I'll see a business, right? Someone I could help as a business coach. Well, I'll call them up and first thing I want, hey, you want to be on a podcast? I'd love to hear your story. Have you come on, tell people, share it. It's great. They're terrified. It's a hard no right out of the chute. Even people you think of, I'm like, well, dude, you built this business. You're doing 15 million a year. You don't want to talk about it? How do you speak to your customers? And they say, well, it's the same thing, man. We're on the phone. It's like a phone call. This is really simple, but it's just, I didn't expect that because we're in something that hey, this is how easy does this get? This is really easy.
Well, it becomes normal. It becomes normal, right?
Right. And we just, and it's I tie it into business. I go, this is not seeing what you do through your customers' eyes. You're only seeing it through your experience and how you do it. So it's normal. So just a great takeaway. So tell us a bit more on specifically what you're doing on the podcast, who you're helping, how you're helping and stuff.
Yeah, so our podcast is predominantly for people who aren't necessarily entrepreneurial, but they're dream chasers. They want to elevate their lives when it comes to health and love. They don't want the status quo. They want to live differently, but it doesn't mean they're going to go start a business. It means that they're going to do something different than they're doing today. Next Level University, I have another podcast about podcasts, which that has been one of the reasons the business has grown so much, right? That's a big piece of it. But yeah, for us, we're a personal development podcast that helps people be more successful through personal development, not a business-minded podcast that just like occasionally throws personal development stuff. I don't really think you can grow your business beyond yourself, not sustainably.
No, 100%. And this is another good point. Okay. People don't understand that. Like you're going to get sprinkled personal development on a business podcast. And I'm a business podcast guy. I've done hundreds of, and I'm telling you, it's not something we focus on. Like here, you're going to get an occasional business one with all this personal development. But the flip side, just like you said, is so incredibly important. You develop yourself. And I don't know, was it Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar, whoever said, you want to get everything you want, help other people get what they want, but work on yourself first, right? It's really developing yourself because, and this is a great crossover because in entrepreneurship, I can tell you through all these years of doing it, the biggest problem with businesses is the owner.
Of course.
Okay. The entrepreneur, they're the biggest roadblock we have to deal with. Okay. And that's why to send them out to the personal development coach, I'm air quoting, right? Like it's important. Like I'm not here I can help change your mindset. I'll get you thinking, but I need an expert to do that with you while I do the business expert stuff. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Last night, we have a group coaching for podcasters. And the first 4 sessions, and I just keep reiterating this to the people that are there. Look, the first 4 sessions are about mindset, self-belief, self-worth, and triggers. I know. You came here for podcast success. I promise this will all connect. And last night on the session, we were talking about how if you have low self-worth, you self-sabotage your own success. You just do. If you have low self-belief, you probably set goals that aren't serving you because you don't think you're capable of accomplishing them. And that's to your point. I've worked with hundreds of business owners. I always start with identity because that is the thing that you are carrying around with you forever, regardless of your results. So I could not second that stronger than I am right now.
Yeah. So you talk about identity and you're exactly right there. With my first business of 20 years, I realized when everything's collapsing in 08, 09, my identity was my business. That's a problem too. It's like everything is based on that. So when it collapsed and is over, am I over? Am I done? And I had that realization. I was able to course correct on that. But back to the identity issue and the self-worth. I think that's another really important, again, from working with so many business owners. I'll give you one example is I'll be in a workshop and I'll ask everyone, okay, you're all owners of businesses. Tell me how much you're worth per hour. Okay. And here's like consistently across all of them, it's all 100, 150 an hour. I'm like, seriously, that's it? You built all this, you're doing all this, and you're only worth that. Okay. So, and they're all like, huh? And then you have to go through that whole process. But even myself, Kevin, when in my early 20s, coming out of the Corps, building a business, trying to get things going, I had the fear of success.
Yeah.
So you talk self-destructive. Did you get right? You're 300 feet from the summit and you jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like that. I was again, that took some time to get over that.
So I'm afraid of failure. My biggest thing is failure. My business partner's biggest thing is success. So we are a very unique, I don't know, it's weird for the two of us to work together as well as we do. I don't know if there's many partnerships that are like us. We are on opposite sides of the spectrum, but it flows beautifully together. I was having a conversation with a client one time and he just felt stuck. And I said, all right, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about self-belief and self-worth. He said, I don't think I believe in myself enough. And you can look at yes, you do. That's not the issue, brother. That's not the issue. Look at you. You're a stud. You crush it in the gym. And that's not what it is. I said, all right, let's do this exercise. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you believe in your own unique capability to build something externally, brick by brick, day by day, consistently, with discipline? And he smiled. He said, 12 out of 10. I know. Okay. After you build this magnificent external creation, brick by brick, day by day, how worthy do you feel of walking into it and reaping all the rewards and all the benefits of all the work that you have done? And he looked away and he said, oh no, 2 out of 10? I said, brother, this is not a self-belief issue. This is a self-worth issue. You do not believe you are worthy of stepping into the success that you're going to create. You're never going to create the success. You will just continue running from it forever. And I think that's something that just isn't talked about a lot when it comes to business. It's oftentimes it's the tactics and it's the funnels and it's the conversion and it's the right thing to say at the right time. But I love that we're talking about the internal stuff because that is such a big piece.
Just because I see it all the time. You know, like, again, I can walk in, I can build you systems and process, and I can fix all the bells and whistles. I can do all that stuff, but it always comes back down to the owner themselves, you know? So I always had to kind of alter my approach. Like, I come in and, yeah, they want this and this and this. Okay, great. Well, who are we going to do? Who am I going to work with on the team? I exclude them. You don't have the bandwidth for this anyways. Who am I going to work with? I'll get it when we're done. I'll bring you the results.
Yeah.
And you can give us your blessing. Okay. Yeah. Or tell us to tweak, whatever. Like, I had to learn to take that pivot because I'm like, it doesn't get done, you know, because that's the nature of ownership, you know, unless you're really well developed, but then usually maybe you're getting me for different reasons or whatever, but it's a similar thing. Right. And I remember we talk about self-worth. My father, okay, could build stuff. We grew up in the golf course business, construction, all this stuff. So I'm building these amazing water features, right? And people are paying me a whole lot of money to build this stuff. And he came out and we were looking one, he goes, they pay you that much? Like, I go, Dad, they can't do what I do. Okay. Like, they could buy every piece of equipment I have with a stroke of a pen. Okay. Like, that's not the issue. They just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what to do with it. Okay. And that's what they pay for. That was one of those revelations for myself. Like, well, I got a pretty good self-worth. Still not enough. I guarantee you, and tell me if you agree with this, Kevin, no matter how successful someone is, they're still worth more not in their mind, right? They still undervalue themselves. That's my point.
Disagree respectfully.
Okay, good. Let me know why.
I have met a lot of people, Richard, who are delusionally high self-worth to the point where they think they deserve everything. When to your point, they haven't put in the effort. They haven't put in the effort.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I mean, the guys I have clients who are, you know, 8 and 9 figure guys, billionaire clients, and they still will tell you because there's a drive to it. And I think that I don't want to. I guess I'm thinking on the fly here, so be careful. All right, like I think about it. I don't know if it's self-worth or it's an achievement thing or what it is, but they're just always driven. And I don't always know exactly what the drive is. Like you said, is it the brick and mortar aspect? But what about what you're getting, like you said earlier about that guy, right? So I haven't gone this deep into this, more your area. So I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, my business partner's, he's just a level 1 achiever. He went to one of the top technical schools in the world. Like, he is an achiever. This is just what he does. That for him was a trauma response. When things would go wrong in his life, he would say, well, I just have to get better, do more, and be more successful. And he just ran that for his entire life. He would rather be working than not working. He loves working. He works 7 days a week. He doesn't want to be not working. But I think that's an important conversation, because what is the why underneath? Are we hiding from something? Are we running from something? No, a lot of super high achievers are focused on maximizing their potential. And if you're focused on maximizing your potential, there is no such thing as enough. It's not external. It's not about however much is in the bank account. It doesn't matter how much money we have in the bank. My business partner does not react differently at all. If anything, he works harder when we don't have any money because he likes his back being against the wall. So a huge part of it is, how do you respond to pressure? How do you respond to failure? And to your point, how do you respond when you get to what you thought you wanted? I mean, that's a really big thing. That's an important distinction.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think about it, I hit the gym five days a week, 6 days a week, do some very intense workouts. And, I don't know, leaving, you always get the guy that says, hey man, how was it? And I'm either, well, it was a good day, not a great day. It was a good day. Even my great day, I'm like, did I just not kind of push in that last, I'm always about, I'm a strong finisher and everything, but, I have that same internal potential thing. I'm not a really young guy anymore. Okay. But I'm outworking everyone in the gym who's ever there at 5:15, 5:30. I'm the nut job. Regardless of their age, they're like, that dude, just stay away from him. Okay. So because that's how it's a release for me, at the same time, but that challenge, I kind of can always, I'm big on the accomplishment stuff. Like as a doer, I need to check the box. I have a whole morning routine that covers hours of starting at 4 a.m. And I have things I do and I have to check that off, and that sets my whole tone for the day, but I'm still driven for that. What did I get done? What did I get done?
Are you better at checking off? So if I said to you every day, do a most important win, a most important improvement, which one of those is more natural to you? Do you celebrate the wins, or are you always looking at what there is to improve?
I'm an improvement guy.
Usually that means you have really high self-belief. I think that the higher your self-belief, the higher you can set your standards. And in theory, you'll never actually hit your standards, but it's not detrimental to your self-worth, I think.
Yeah. I remember boxing and you get the trophy, stop. And I'm like, throw it away. I don't care. I remember I moved, and my roommate, he was my trainer too, but we're both in the Marines together, all this kind of stuff, but I'm like, here, you keep all these. I don't need these trophies. I don't have, they mean nothing. I did it. It's done. It's past, I'm not putting up the picture of me getting knocked out either. Okay. So, but I remember them. Okay. So it just, it goes both ways, but you're right. Kind of, it's like, it was always what's next. It's always the next thing. And that can be good and bad. It worked against me in my first 20 years in business because I was only focused on the next great thing. And that's why I didn't pay attention to my business. And it came back to bite me. But,
Same.
But I did great things. I did some really great things.
Yeah, it's same though. We were focused on 15 years from today, not 15 months from today. And again, that's a good place to be, but it can suck in the interim. You have to juggle long-term and you have to make payroll. Yeah, we want to double or we want to grow by whatever percent each year, but you got to make payroll this month in order to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fine balance. And I'll tell you, I don't know many people who figure it out on their own. And I have these discussions relatively often on coaching. Yeah, I'm a coach. I'm not here promoting myself, but you need outside eyes. You need someone to come in and I want someone who's an expert to coach me. Why does only professional athletes get coaches? I want to coach.
Yeah.
Okay. In all aspects, I think it's important to understand that even if it's short term, give me 2 months, man. Like you said, you got four group calls that focus on things that you're not technically there for, if you will, right? Yep. But they set the foundation.
Yep.
So you need those, right? We need those bases. You need people to come in and give you that kind of stuff so you can go to that next level.
Yeah. Well, you only know what you know, right? You only know what you know, and it's so easy to fall into a silo and think yeah, we are doing all the right things, but we're not getting the right results. Well, you're probably not doing all the right things then, but you're doing what you think are the right things. And oftentimes what we think of the right things are the things that are easiest for us. That's where things get super wonky. Again, I'm blessed because my business partner is the complete opposite of me. So I am the productive paranoia of, I know we're going to host this event. It's going to be outside. Do we have a contingency if it rains? That's the guy I am, where he's like, there is no such thing as rain and we're going to sell 1,000 tickets. Right. That's not going to happen. So why don't we meet somewhere in the middle, brother?
And I'll give you a little business insight on that partnership. Okay. And why it works. Okay. You don't need two of you, Kevin. Two of you would be a disaster.
Yes.
Okay. It'd be nothing but, it'd be bare knuckle brawling. Okay. That's all it'd be. And the whole thing would collapse.
Yes.
I always tell people whenever they entertain the idea of partnerships, there is that great saying, the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. Okay. So it's you got to be careful, but if you're going to do it and there's the right time, they need a unique, absolute unique skill set that they're bringing to the game. right? And him, whether it's that his focus, his, hey, I'm more afraid of failure and whatever, and I'm afraid of success. That's a good dichotomy, right? That really works because it balances you out. Like you said, if you're both, even though he was this person but similarities don't work. I remind my wife of that all the time. When she says, why am I? I'm like, listen, if we were both the same, one of us wouldn't be necessary. Okay. I'm here for that reason. I'm your thorn. I'm just kidding.
It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of humility to admit that. Like, even to your point, one of me in the business was detrimental for a long time until we figured out how to leverage my unique skill set. And I think we're so conditioned to think that we have to change everything about ourselves. There are certain things that you're going to have to level up. But one of the things you're going to have to level up is figuring out who you are and then magnifying and multiplying those strengths that you already have. You have strengths, Richard. You have strengths that I don't. Whether you're watching or listening, you have strengths that I don't. We have to start by multiplying those first, because that might be where the secret sauce is for you.
Yeah, I agree. I see it. And that was brought up to me a couple of years ago. Same thing. They kind of brought it like, and my big fear was like, I'm a contrarian, as my nature is a contrarian, right? So I'm kind of always going different directions than average people. But I'm like, well, I don't want to get put in a box. You're going to tell me this, like, people look at me, right? Well, of course you're a boxer. Of course you're a Marine. Of course you're a black belt. Well, I'm an internationally recognized steel sculptor. You're an artist. I go, yeah, like world class. It's odd, right? I had stuff on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. I did world class exhibits. I'm like, well, that's weird, right? I'm a writer. You write? They just look at me and think I'm this guy who's going to pop their head like a zit. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, that's what I mean. So I kind of always battle that label kind of aspect. It kind of makes me a little leery, but I think it also kind of holds me back. Do you know what I mean? Because you want to excel. Those strengths need to be, because, and tell me, you probably understand this better than I do even. It's all repetition. Okay. When you're talking to the world, you've had over 1 million people listen to your stuff, everything else. Do you think you only tell your story once? Okay. Right. I'm like, I've told this 3 times. Do I really have to do this again? Like 3 times to like 9 people. Okay. So it's like, I'm like, you got to understand that you have to keep repeating this stuff, and it gets to be a little bit cumbersome for you. You're kind of like, again, but it's what matters. It's what
it is everything. I mean, it is the reason you're really good at something is most likely because you've done that thing more than you've done other things. I was a personal trainer for a while, and it was one of the most humbling experiences ever, is trying to help somebody squat who has never squatted before. Because I can squat with a lot of weight on my back, and it's not that hard to balance. A lot of people who have never squatted before cannot figure out the balance thing. That is one of the most humbling things ever of all time. The more they do it, the more natural it becomes. The more natural it becomes, the more we can start throwing in some different environments. So yeah, even in the beginning, in my mind, it was like, how long of my story do I want to tell? Do I want to do the 3-minute, the 5-minute, the 7-minute, the 10-minute?
Right.
But
right.
I've told it thousands of times, because to your point, most of the audience has never heard of me and most likely will never hear from me again. So this is the time that we have together. This is it.
Yeah. And for the record, I did 280 squats this morning.
80 squats.
Yes, just for you.
I had shoulder
just
day
because you're coming on. Wow.
I appreciate it. I wish I knew. I would have lined that up, but I had shoulder.
That
day
was
today.
During my 30 minutes of battle ropes.
My goodness.
Okay, so yeah, I like that stuff.
My goodness.
But I'm still not good enough. I'm just kidding. But yes, I owned a gym. Did all bioweapons. So I'm with you. I got my personal trainer certification 1993.
Nice. Yeah, I was just a little
one
taught.
of the first. Yes, you were just.
I was a little taught.
A thought. You were just a thought, but it's okay. But another thing, talking about this, there's a thing you hit a lot, is consistency. And I love the concept of consistency. I don't feel is taught enough, expounded on enough, and really the true results of consistency, because people don't like it because it's a long game.
It is.
And no one wants that. They want today. There's a great quote I heard, and I wish I remember the woman's name, and I can't. But she said, kids today, we always love that beginning of a sentence. Kids today, they want to be discovered, not developed.
Ooh, that's fire.
Isn't that great? Like, and you don't have to say anything else. Now we know.
Yeah.
And then you want to get into consistency. Okay. They don't go together. those two things, right? So let's talk about consistency and really what the fruit it produces.
Yeah, so I think one of the most common misconceptions is people say, I'm not consistent. I think that's factually incorrect. You are just consistent in the wrong direction. Humans are very consistent. We want to do the same stuff for the most part, right? We're certainty-driven creatures for the most part. So that's step one. I think the best example or the best advice I can give on this is there's 3 steps for consistency. Everything starts from sustainability. If it's not sustainable, it does not get started. If it does not get started, you can't do it consistently. That is plot 1. We start there. So everything starts from a place of sustainability. Pick a battle that you can win. Pick a fight that you can win. That's where we start. When you do something from a sustainable place, then you can practice it consistently. That just means you show up and do it, rinse and repeat. But that's not the end of it. The 3rd step is you have to improve it. So, good example. You start with 1 podcast episode a week. It's sustainable. I feel like I can probably do that. Yeah, okay, cool. You do that consistently for however long, and you're improving every single time you do it. I think that last piece is where a lot of us get stuck because we think doing the thing is enough. No, you have to do the thing and then do it better next time. And then do it better next time, do it better next time. So we have a thing where it's prep, rep, reflect, perfect. Before this, I looked you up. I looked you up on social media. I looked up the podcast. I looked at the YouTube channel. Boom, boom, boom. Awesome, cool. Prep. That's me getting prepared for this. Rep. Right now we're doing it. Hopefully there is a grain of value in this episode. Cool. Reflect. In an ideal world, when this comes out, I will listen to the whole thing. And then perfect. I will take all of the wins. I'll take all the losses. And then the next time I do this, I will roll it into that and I will try to do a better job. And as long as I do that with momentum for long enough, I should get really good at the thing that I'm doing. But I think sometimes we get caught in, let me just check the box. It's checking the box is a really good place to start, but it's not necessarily going to deliver the amount of growth that you want. And the best example of the fruits that it produces is we get more listens in a day than we got in the first year. That is what compounding looks like. That's how it's supposed to work when you do it long enough. But I think a lot of us just quit because, to your point, Richard, it is a long game. It is from day to day, progress is invisible. From year to year, progress or lack thereof is impossible to miss. But you got to do it year to year to get enough data.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I love is it 4 P's or 5? 4. Prep.
4 P's.
Perform. Okay.
Well, no, it's not P's though. Prep, rep, perfect.
Rep. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Prep. Yeah. Whatever. It should be 4 P's.
There's P's and R's, the 2 P's, 2 R, the 2. Yeah, we'll find something.
We're peas in a pod, so we got that. We got all that going on. But no, you're exactly right. I look and so I still hit the bag a lot, right? I box. I mean, I haven't been in the ring since 1990, March of 1990. Okay, my last 10 seconds in the ring was then. Mm-hmm. So, but I still been training all this time. So you talk about consistency. So I'm working the bag. I'll do 8 3-minute rounds, 1 minute rest. And I'm a big dude. Okay, push about 240. I threw at least about 200 punches around. Okay, that's a lot. And I threw every one of them hard. And I'm not bragging on myself. What I'm saying is, like, people watch me and and then I'll take a video every now and then, but I'm always working on my skill set. Never getting in the ring again, but I do need to stay dangerous. Okay. But I love it. And I'm like, I never throw less than 3 punches at a time. Okay. It's 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm not that goof who's just standing there hitting every 10 seconds. Okay. I'm like working, sweaty, making a lot of noise. And again, no one talks to me for those reasons. But I look at the consistency time, so you're talking 30 some years now, right, of doing it. Like a guy my age, like with that kind of skill set is unique.
Yeah. Like
I had one young guy on the treadmill ask me, dude, you like training for a fight? And I just went, no, man, I'm just staying dangerous. And I walked away. He's like, dang. So like, but that's how I teach my kids and stuff like that too. Like we just need to put in the reps. Okay. The R word, got to put in those reps again and again and again and again, and it pays off. I do it in the business. Same thing with you, doing who has my podcast with my coaching and things like that. And I don't like the word grind. People say it's a grind because it's really not, to me, it's like, this is a love. I get a lot of joy out of what I do. So the consistency aspect is why I do it, because I can help more people.
Yeah.
If I'm if I'm hot and cold, okay, I'm a results-based guy. I love results. And the only way I get that is through consistency. So it kind of all ties together, I think.
It's very similar to me. So I, in high school, trained to fight mixed martial arts professionally. That's what I wanted to do. That was one of my random tangents that I went on for a while.
You are young because we didn't have that when I was
I'm
your age
30.
at that time.
I'm 35. So I fell in love with mixed martial arts. I am. And I act like one often. I fell in love with mixed martial arts when I was young, and it was still at a time where probably naively I was like, I could do that. I mean, these guys aren't that good. They were way better than I was going to be, for sure. But I self-taught myself kickboxing. And then after, I haven't trained, I was doing jiu-jitsu last year, but there's too much going on. But I've been practicing hitting the bag and kicking the bag and switch kicks and all that stuff for a long time. I was in the gym hitting the bag one day, and this guy who owned or worked at a Muay Thai gym came up to me. And he said, "Where do you train?" I was like, "Just right here. You're looking, this is me training." And he said, "I want you to come to the gym. I'd love to see like what you're capable of." That was just me being consistent over the last 15 years. And I ended up being better than the average bear. I still got my ass kicked when I went and sparred with one of the fight, of course, but that's just, if you do something more than other people do, you most likely will be way better at it. It just is that simple, except it takes longer than we want.
Yeah, I was training my son to box. He's in the Marine Corps now. And but I was training him on the box. We're train all the time. I'm big on training. And we're at the gym and we're sparring. And then here's me, right? Like, okay, he's doing great, everything else. And then this heavyweight gets in there who just thinks he's all this in a bag of chips, right? Yeah. And he's working this guy up going, I will end you. Just like, I'll get it and you're wearing a little fit. I will just, and I'm like, my son was like, "Dad, like you can't get in there." I'm like, I could put him to sleep. Like I just want to get in there, you know? So, and that, you know, and I have to fight that because that's not a healthy urge. Okay. So I'm just like, but I'm staying sharp though. I can do this. That dude can't do what I do on the bag for 8 rounds. I guarantee you. Mm-hmm. Okay. He can't do the rope. Okay. I'm doing rope. I do 12, 15 rounds of working out like consistently, like I did. I'm not in the shape I was when I boxed. Obviously, you know, I'm also 40 years older, but you know, the point being like that urge, that ability to think, because some people they're kind of delusional in their thoughts.
Of course. Like
I'm not at the delusional level yet. At 80, when I say I can get in there and get out, that's when I'm delusional.
I don't know.
Right now I'm thinking, I don't know either. If it's another 80-year-old.
Yeah. But if you keep doing what you're doing, it might be a 65-year-old, you know?
I'm telling you, man, I'm like, I just look like, I just get that. It's just kind of who I am.
Yeah.
But anyways,
well, that's the fire, Richard. That's the fire that has made you a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's so much balance. Let's talk about that real quick. So people often talk about balance, your work-life balance. They get all this kind of stuff, right? And this really comes down, for me, it's a personality issue, okay, a personality trait, if you will. One thing I tell people, if your business is a hot mess, okay, it's not running itself, as I say, you don't get to focus on work-life balance. Like I tell them, it's like, it doesn't work that way. You got to get that squared away, and then you can go in what I call the 5 F's, right? It's faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships, right? You can work on those. That's when you start to create the balance, because if all that's a mess, you're just obsessed with that, right? So what do you see out there in that when you're working with people, because they got to come to you, right? And that's one of their needs. Right? Maybe the work-life balance are kind of, and there's no true, like everything's, 22.5% or whatever. I mean, it's like balance is not, there's a whole different definition for it, but share something like that with me.
One of the most common things is people come to me and they're delusional about they're very clear on the goal they want. They're delusional on the process they're willing to practice in order to get it. So I had somebody that came to me one time and said, "Look, I want to have a podcast like yours, but like 10 times more successful." It's like, okay, love it. Love that for you. Let me ask you some simple questions to figure out whether or not that's going to be good for you. Do you want to be at home for dinner every night? Yeah, man, I got to. Cool. When you have children in the next couple of years, do you want to be able to get them off the bus every day? He said, yeah, for sure. Cool. You want to be at their sporting events, recitals, all that stuff? He said, yeah, cool. I said, brother, I mean this with all the love in the world. You don't want what I have. I promise you, because I'm not having kids for that reason. I've sacrificed a lot to get to where we are today. I think it's a conversation around You have to define what success is to you, because the only way to have work-life balance is to define what success and work-life balance is. I cannot really give advice on it because I don't have it, and I don't care. For me, right? Maybe I'm a rare entrepreneur where I didn't start this necessarily to work less. I started this because I love this. I love what we're doing. If you want to podcast 365 times a year plus however many guest spots a week, that's always going to be something I do. I think I would just say you have to get clear on what it means, and you have to define what are your core values, what are your core beliefs, and do they conflict with any of your core aspirations? That right there is going to create a whole mess of you not getting your goals and then maybe regretting it, or, and this might even be worse, you actually accomplishing the goals and then realize you gave up things that you valued more. I don't know which place is worse to be in, but yeah, that's a big piece for us.
Yeah, I didn't have my first child till I was 39.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I couldn't have done what I did.
Right.
I didn't get married till I was 34. Okay, so I was working. I was building things out, building brand, doing all this stuff. I mean, whatever. So I'm totally with you on that. You have to make those, you have to have those defining points. And I don't know any entrepreneurs that get into business to work less. It doesn't seem to be part of the makeup of an entrepreneur. Okay, you're going to do this and I'm going to do this so I don't have to work much. Well, then you're going to be a failure as an entrepreneur.
Well, I think a lot of people are sold that.
That's the discovered, not developed mentality.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, yeah, you'll work less in 12 years, but for the next 12 years, you'll probably work more. But hopefully you love what you do, so it's not as bad as you doing something else, and you're fulfilled and you're impacting and you're developing yourself. That's a really big piece of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? So it's time in the game. That's why 90+% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and all the stats and all that stuff. Because even the guys who this is kind of one of my little mantras is, they get in the business, you're going to work hard, you're going to wear 9 hats, you're going to do all this stuff for 2 years, right? That's what it takes. But then 10 years has gone by and you've repeated the first 2 5 times. Okay, you're on the hamster wheel. That's why you're never getting freedom.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to do that till you check out, and you're going to be really scratching your head why your kids don't want to take over the business. Well, Dad, you were never around. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be around for my kids, so I'm not taking over your business. I'm not even going into business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get 9 to 5 so I can have a life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty much the resounding.
It makes sense.
Responsive kids, so we try to help them. Let's turn that around. Let's fix that. Right. So that's all part of it. But I like that insight. I think it's really important. People understand the level of sacrifice that needs to be done. I don't think they weigh that consequence.
No.
Like you're saying.
No, because I think many people set goals in order to get the goals, and we don't really understand what it's going to take to accomplish it. I think New Year's resolutions are great examples of this. New Year's comes around and we collapse a 12-month goal into a 12-minute idea. And I think one of the reasons that most people, I think it's 93% of people don't accomplish them, is because you don't actually know the process and you don't know what will be required of you. I don't care what goal you want. I care more about the process that you're willing to practice, because that's the level you're going to get to anyway. And I'd rather just be honest about that and be self-honest about that, because the likelihood of you accomplishing it is just way higher.
Yeah. And, a goal, if it's easy to get to, it's not really a goal, is it?
Fair. Yeah.
Kind of okay, that's, and I also do a definition too, Kevin. I'll say you got goals and you have targets. I'm a target guy because I like to hit things. Mm-hmm. Okay. And when I shoot, I want to hit my targets, right? So I do all these things. So if I can put in that context for me, I can also change all the distances of targets. I can hit things at different places, right? I guess goal can be too, but for me, from a mindset, I started really using that terminology. So when I hit it, hey, look, man, almost on the bullseye. I'm close, but it's okay, man. I'm still in the kill zone. Okay. But I'm good. So let's, that's how I approach this stuff, kind of that little more of a warrior mentality. But I want to define it in a way that it gives me the satisfaction of accomplishment, and not that it's easier, but I understand and I can break them down simpler. If I have 9 goals, it seems like to me a goal is kind of a really big thing, right? target is like, okay, move here. Okay, let's go to the next, go to the 20-yard. Let's go to the 30-yard. Let's go to the 50-yard. Okay, cool. Okay, I suck at the 50-yard. Okay, I got to work on that. I'm really good up close, but I got to work on that. So it helps me learn and adapt quicker to achieve these targets and goals. Big goals, a 5-year goal like today, what I find, Kevin, is 5 years is almost too far out.
100%.
It has to be very high view, general. It has to be a generality. Okay, because the process, like you said, is going to change on a dime. Like just too much going on in the world and technology and ability to do things, and you're going to be constantly pivoting and everything else. So it's just, it's trying to bring them back into that reality stage. Like I don't do unrealistic goals. I do unreasonable goals. I want to be in an unreasonable. I want it to be a stretch, right? I want to push. So to the average person, that's unreasonable. It's not unrealistic. I can get it, but it's going to hurt a bit.
Yeah.
On the way. So that's kind of how
I feel like you have such high self-belief that might be, again, from our anecdotal evidence, that's one of the most important things to understand is if you have level 9 self-belief, you can set level 10 goals and just crack your head against the wall for years until you get them. And it almost doesn't affect you at all. You're just like, oh, this is what it takes. Somebody who might be out there who you're saying, I don't think I'm like Richard. I don't know if I have that. If you have level 5 self-belief, set a level 6 goal. Perfect. That's great. Maybe that for you, maybe that's unreasonable. Maybe that's a stretch. Maybe that's whatever the word we want to use is. But that's been one of the biggest things is oftentimes what we hear is we hear somebody that has really high self-belief who gets to the top of the mountain. Then they yell down from the top of the mountain, you should have goals that scare the crap out of you. Because if you don't, they're not big enough. Little do they know that a lot of people that aren't climbing the mountain yet are already afraid of things. So they're not going to set goals that scare them. And they're definitely not going to chase goals that scare them. So that's been it's been an interesting perspective that we've gained from working with so many people.
Yeah, I like that. I haven't thought of it that way. That's really good, Kevin. I mean, we all have fears. Everyone, and I've climbed a lot of mountains.
I'm afraid of running into you at the gym. That's what I'm afraid of.
Dude, I'm a kind guy.
Look,
nice.
I've heard you want to stay dangerous. You want to hit the target. I want to make sure I stay on the right side of you.
Well, last Saturday I had some friends over and we put about 1,000 rounds down range in the backyard. So that was fun too. So I have friends who we're like-minded. Okay.
It's important.
To keep the skill sharp. It's important. Yeah. It's fun. We're influencing our children. That's what it's about, so it's good. Like I said, that's what my son's a Marine now. And he said that we got to do a podcast together, Kevin, because I was on with a woman and great one. She was on mine. And then she's like, I want to interview you and your son. So he came on, he'd been in about a year in the Corps, and I basically sat there and listened to all this stuff. Like you'd love it because she asked him about discipline and stretching. I mean, the stuff that he was saying, I'm just listening in awe. Like, wow, dude, like he's talking about goals and he'll tie this in here. So she says, well, about achieving things. He goes, well, like why you box and why you do this? Well, he goes, well, I'd really like to be able to protect my family, both with my hands and a weapon. And I'm thinking, wow. And then he wanted to do this and he wanted to box and I'm going, okay, here's the difference between me and my son. When I was doing that stuff, I did it to do the thing. He's looking down the road. He's doing all of this for what's coming in the future. Like I did not have that awareness at 20 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was a goof. Okay. I was in the Marine Corps, but like, I'm just there to kill people. I don't know. I'm just like, so he's a very different animal. It's so cool to hear that and just his perspective and that thought process, because he's a goal attainer.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets, and he puts in the work and it's really impressive. And he's set. He's in the MSG, which is Marine Security Guard, third hardest school in the Marine Corps. So he's guarding embassies now and stuff like that, right? So really, brutal. All the way through everything they had to do. And it's really cool to see. Like I said, I was a Marine, but like he's doing way cooler stuff than I did. I'm really happy for him. But it's that point, right? It's really that, what are they sacrificing now? But that ability to look down the road, right? What you're doing this now for what? Like me, I was just to do the thing. To win the fight, okay, when's the next fight?
Yeah. Same.
You know, it's not, you know, and yeah,
that's the exact way I was wired. And then the benefits were like, oh, cool, I got good at this. That's awesome. I can speak to a crowd now. Like, that's awesome. There's a TED Talk that's about this. I think it's like the 3 beliefs you must have to accomplish a goal or set a new goal. It's one of those 2. 1, you must believe it is humanly possible. So is it humanly possible to accomplish whatever goal? Cool. 2, is it personally possible? Can I do it with my skill set? 3 is the big one that I think most of us are missing. And you were kind of just talking about this. Will it be worth it? That one right there. When the alarm goes off, you have to convince yourself it will be worth it to go, even when it feels like it won't be. There's something to that. You have to believe that it's worth it to do the 100 sales calls, even though you might only get 5 clients. All of that stuff. I mean, that's such an important facet. If you don't think it would be worth it, it would be highly illogical for you to follow through in the first place. It just wouldn't make sense.
Have you read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a great book for people. I recommend it because I love it and she goes in all these guys who have accomplished these big things, and it's not smart. She does the West Point thing. It's not athletic ability. It's not this. It's grit, the ability to stay in there. She's got a little test you can take and everything else, right? So a friend of mine said, you got to read this book. It's about you. So I'm like, okay, I'll read that. It's about me. Enough about me. Let's talk about me. So I'm reading this book. I'm like, oh, they got a little I'll take the little test, the grit test, and see how we score. I'm on 97%
I believe it.
On the scale. So I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. And, you know, other people are not so much. But and then you look back again, it's what you're saying. Is it worth it? That ability to stay in day after day, month after month, year after year, failure after failure, you know, that's what it's about. You know what I mean? So it's, and I like seeing like a great researcher who goes into it and gives you real world, you know, examples, you know, and they do this kind of stuff for me, because we kind of know innately, like we're different that way and stuff. But I just think it's kind of cool when you can get a book and read it and go, okay. And it's learned. This isn't some great gift I was born with.
Yeah. Okay.
And man, is it learned?
So that's an important facet, because I think, to your point, a lot of people say, well, I don't have that, or I'm not like that. No, you just haven't flexed that muscle yet. That's it. You just haven't.
Time under tension.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons is you don't think it'll be worth it. I've had this weird, and again, you'll probably be like, yeah, of course, I want to do that all the time. But I've had this weird thought recently where I just like want to go sleep outside on a cold night just to feel the discomfort. That's me wanting to build grit in real time.
So I drove by this morning a billboard on my way to the studio, and they're doing one night without a home for kids.
Interesting.
So they spend the whole night on the street.
My goodness.
Just to go, like, they start at 8 p.m. on Friday and goes to whatever time on Saturday, right? Like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Super cool.
You know, I think that's really good for kids, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting with you, like you said, it's that I'm going to stay with my oddness here. I'm a big fan of suffering. Suffering, man, it builds bond like nothing else. It's the number one bond builder. It makes you, you know, and I do dumb little things like this. I tell people, I go, well, you know, I'm in Wisconsin. It's 30 below in the winter, and you got to go out to get something in the car you left. I said, don't put your shoes on or your socks. Don't put a coat on, T-shirt. Just go out there and get it and come back in. Don't be a little girl. Okay. Just go out there. Like, don't bundle up to go 15 feet. Okay. Like, go feel it. Just feel it. Okay. And just get that, man, that would kind of suck if I was out here for a couple hours. I did it with my kids in the backyard. So when they were little, maybe 6, 7, 8 years old, they we're big into World War II reenactments and all this kind of stuff, right? So they love all that stuff. So they're playing back. So they we dug trenches, not just 85 feet of trench, okay, 2x2. So they're playing that dirt. Then winter comes. I'm like, okay, we're going to do a little Battle of the Bulge reenactment. Come on, everybody. And it was like 20 below. And I set them out there, and we're just sitting there. In this one, we got a huge, like 40 acre field, like in front of us, right? I go, and there's Foy. Okay, on the other side where the trees are. Now they're sitting there, it's been like 20 minutes, Kevin. They're shaking.
Yeah. It's
so cold, right? I'm like, think about these guys. Weeks. I'm going to see this field. They had to cross that while being fired upon. Nowhere to hide. Okay, so I just want you to get this perspective of like, it looks cool in the movies. I said, but now you're feeling it and you're understanding. It was a really good exercise. I'm not some, you know, lunatic.
No.
Okay. I'm not out there giving them frostbite. I want them to feel it. And it was less than an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. And they had enough.
What builds humility? That's such a humility builder. That's such a grit builder. There's something about experiencing that discomfort and realizing what you're capable of, and you appreciate comfort more. One of the reasons I love jujitsu is because you can casually get your ass kicked. Like casually. You're not
daily.
Yeah, daily. But you're not going to get brain damage most likely. It's the risk of getting injured in the short term is probably lower. In the long term, it's probably pretty high. But I was talking about that on our podcast one time. I said, I love it. I was getting choked and I was biting through my lip because my mouth guard was loose. And there was a piece of me that was like, I'm not going to tap. You're going to have to break my nose or whatever. I like that manufactured suffering. So I'm there with you. And I think it builds character, and I think it builds grit. And it's one of those weird things that crosses over into everything else in life. That's why I think fitness is so valuable, because it teaches you real world examples of pushing. You can literally see results come through consistency. You question yourself. You have to push yourself. I think fitness is one of the greatest analogies or examples of success there is.
Agree. Training my son. I trained him in everything. He wanted to go to Junior Olympics for the 800 meter, trained him for a year. We went to Junior Olympics. Wanted to go in the Marine Corps 3 a days for 7 months straight. Okay. Built an obstacle course. We got 20-foot rope climbs into the trees. He's carrying 80, 90-pound logs. Okay. I'm hosing them down. Right. We're just doing all this just brutal stuff every day. They're running all this stuff. But then he's like, well, I want to box, before we did the Marine Corps training. And I'm like, you sure you don't want to do like jujitsu or something like that, And he's like, no, I want to box. I'm like, okay, well, you got to tell your mother because she's going to kill me. Okay. This is all months. He's like, sure enough, like we did it. And he was unbelievably tough. He really impressive, but you know what I mean? I'm like, maybe, well, you can do the jujitsu later, cause I want more of that too. But it's just that he wanted that higher level. Boxing is just a different animal. It's a sweet science. There's just a lot to it, and he understood that, and it was cool to train him and watch him do that stuff. Right. But all that compounds and accumulates, right? Then you take it into your next level. And he, again, going back to him, he's about the next level of suffering. And when he was asked on that podcast, well, why don't you quit? He goes, well, that's not who I am. And she's like, that's really good. He's like, well, I just tell myself, these guys are dropping, 60 guys drop from this and 35 guys drop. And he's like, well, that's not who I am. Just super humble with that. He's like, that's not who I am. He, on his final ascent at School of Infantry, they're going like 3 straight days. War X is called. And they got to hump this huge radio tower hill in the dark. Okay. And they're carrying 100+ pounds on their back. He goes, Dad, I'm like halfway up and I just blacked out and I face planted. And the instructors run over. They got the lights on me and stuff. He goes, why? He goes, I tripped. He's like, there ain't no way I'm not getting to the top. He goes, just help me up. And they get him up. He goes, I have no idea what happened, but he got up to the top, ran back. You know what I mean? So it's that you cultivate that mentality, that you're going to get through. And I think it's important for anything, whether you're going to do a podcast show, consistently you're going to run a different kind of business, or you're going to try to get in the Corps. Whatever that is, I think the mentality has to cross over. I think with guys like you, same thing, you've been there. So it becomes who you are. When we talk about identity, I think part of that becomes that internal trait that gets you through all these levels of stuff. Right.
100%.
So it's awesome.
And that's one of I have never quit tattooed on my arm. That's like my thing, is never quit. Right. That's one of the things that I say in the gym when I don't want to do something, and it helps. It helps me. I also understand that's not for everybody.
Right.
But I think we could all, blanket statements are always dangerous, but this one I feel like is fairly accurate. I feel like we could all probably use a little bit more grit.
Yeah, I think we could all quit a little bit less, not quit a little bit less.
Yes.
Let's put it at that.
Yeah, I like that.
Just don't quit as much.
Yes. That's a really
start there. That's a close target.
Yes.
Okay. That's a close target.
Yes.
That's where we're going to go. So, Kevin, man, this has been just spectacular. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Same, my friend.
I knew it'd be great. You are awesome.
You
how do people get in touch with you, follow you, give us the website? You know the drill. Give us the whole rundown.
The podcast is called Next Level University. It's on all the podcast platforms. It's on YouTube. We do an episode every day. The website is nextleveluniverse.com. And then if you need anything, questions, comments, concerns, feedback, my email is kevin@nextleveluniverse.com. I do my own emails, so I will be the one to see it for sure.
That's outstanding. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing so much great stuff, great takeaways throughout the entire show. So, man, that's it. Everybody listening, we'll see you on the next STS podcast.
And don't forget, revenue feeds the ego, profit feeds the family. So if you want to see how I can show you at least $100,000 in hidden annual profits in less than 3 minutes, and not only show you where, but how to create that 100K in 6 months or less without additional advertising or marketing spend, guaranteed, just go to sharpenthespiritcoaching.com. See how truly simple it is. That's sharpenthespiritcoaching.com. Do it now.